pure unknowns, and the future of the entire program is riding on the outcome.
Shepard's flight was literally fraught with danger, and it was the one that we had to make happen if we were to keep moving forward in space.
Cabin pressure is holding at 5.5.
Now they are absolutely screaming. It is a tremendously
Apparently, Alan Shepard is in excellent condition.
The Russians are still ahead, but they fly in secret. Launching Alan Shepard on live television gives America an edge in the battle for world opinion.
Even 24 hours after that flight, we already knew that that flight had had a remarkable impact in Europe. Even though we didn't achieve what Gagarin did, the fact that we did it live and people could see it happen had a tremendous impact. And I think it was very reassuring to the Europeans to see the inside of Mission Control on TV, and it showed that we did still have capability.
Shepard's flight made it happen for the team. It was only 15 minutes, but it was a precursor of the great things that would come.
The political prestige of even this 15-minute success is not lost on the president. On May 25th, 1961, John Kennedy ups the ante.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. No single
I couldn't believe it. This whole idea of doing it before this decade is out is absolutely ludicrous. And then you think about it a little bit more and you get away from the initial impressions and you say, holy cow, what a challenge, what a job. This guy trusts us when we haven't been able to put a man in orbit.
The first American to attempt an orbital flight will be astronaut John Glenn.
We will pick up the count at T-minus 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
February 20th, 1962. Our first orbital mission.
Mercury capsule, no. All pre-start power lights are correct. The ready light is on. Roger, the clock is operating. Godspeed, John.
Glenn's flight will shape the future of Mission Control in ways no one expects. Through the first orbit, everything goes as planned.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine.
Then a warning light in Mission Control indicates a problem with the spacecraft.
We had a single piece of instrumentation that indicated his heat shield might have come loose. If this was true, we couldn't re-enter safely. There was also the question, was this a valid piece of information?
If it is valid, John Glenn could burn up during re-entry. Flight director Chris Kraft believes it's a false alarm.
I talked it over with my flight control team, and we all said, that's an erroneous signal. So I'll ignore that.
Then management gets involved.
In the top management's mind, restraining the heat shield with the retro-rocket package was the most conservative form of re-entry.
Normally, the retro rockets fire to begin re-entry, then drop away. Management thinks keeping the pack on through re-entry may hold the heat shield in place. But this is risky. Re-entering with it on could damage a perfectly good heat shield.
If it was not valid, then we put John Glenn at risk by using an off-the-wall procedure, one that we hadn't fully tested.
Management insists. Shortly before retrofire, John Glenn gets the news.
We are recommending that you leave the retro package on through the entire re-entry. Do you read? This is French Ship 7, what is the reason for this? Do you have any reason? Over. Not at this time.
Glenn begins re-entry. For 4 minutes, no one will know if he has survived.
20 seconds to retro 5.
February 20th, 1962. Astronaut John Glenn is re-entering the atmosphere at 17,000 miles an hour. A warning light says his heat shield is loose, but it may be a false alarm. For 4 minutes, Mercury Control won't know if he has survived because of radio blackout.
Blackout is a time period where the fire of re-entry prevents communications to the crewman on board the spacecraft. During this period of time, we're unable to communicate with the crewman. He's on his own.
Ship 7, this is Cape. Do you read? Over. Ship 7, this is Cape. Over. This is Cape. Do you read? Over. Main suit is on green.
Finally, Glenn reappears. Safe.
Ship 7, ready for impact. Almost down. Here we go.
The signal was false. Later examination reveals the heat shield was never loose.
What did I learn from that? I learned that my organization probably knew more about the dangers associated with what we were doing, probably knew better what to do than anybody else.
From now on, Kraft insists one man will have the final say, the flight director.
It was essential that the flight director was the ultimate authority. And Chris Kraft made sure that that was the way it was, and that means that any of his bosses, even up to the NASA administrator, even up to the president, cannot reverse a decision that he makes in real time.
When you step into that console, you accept the responsibility for the lives of the crew, the success of the mission, and you're doing it in full view of the entire world.
Over the next year and a half, 3 more flights proved the concept of ground control. Project Mercury has shown America can compete in space.
Mercury was the answer test for manned spaceflight. We had to learn how to do that, and Mercury did it.
Then, on November 22nd, 1963, the man who has given the engineers of Mission Control their biggest challenge is cut down.
After his assassination, it moved from being a challenge to literally a crusade. This was now our mission to win this battle for President Kennedy. It was visceral, it was gut. We are going to do it, and we're the right people to do it, and we're going to do it in the time frame he said we'll do it.
But they won't do it without people. Lots of them. To get to the moon, NASA will need legions of engineers.
We didn't have to hire people. They came to us. They came to us in droves. And most of the young people that came to us were the first in their families ever to go to college.
We were all about the same age. We all graduated within a year or two of one another. We were all 22, 23 years old.
I was trying to build up a herd of Herefords because I thought I wanted to be a rancher. A friend says, why don't you send in an application? So the next thing I knew, they didn't even grant me an interview. They sent me a job offer for more money than a country boy had ever seen, by the way. I'll never forget what it was. It was $6,770, $6,770 a year.
We didn't have many PhDs. We didn't have many master's degrees. We had guys with BSs, with a lot of common sense, who were very adaptable, in a lot of cases were brilliant, who fit into this control center environment.
A new control center is built near Houston, Texas. Officially named the Mission Operations Control Room, MOCR, to the public it will come to be known as mission control.